Hi, my name is Tasia Rasco, and I'm an MSW candidate at East Carolina University. Today I'm going to be presenting on reality therapy. This will be a guide for clinicians who want to learn more about this therapy approach and implement it into their clinical practice. Reality therapy was developed by Mr. William Glasser in 1965. Mr. Glasser himself was born May 11, 1925 and passed away August 23, 2013. In addition to reality therapy, Mr. Glasser also developed the choice theory, which was the founding theory that reality therapy was based on. So here I have an excerpt from Glasser himself. Glasser describes choice theory as a theory that explains we are all motivated by pleasure. In practice means whether or not we feel pain. We always want to learn how to behave to feel better. In the same sense, we are motivated to avoid painful situations as soon as we recognize that they may be painful. But choice theory also explains in detail that all pleasure and pain is delivered from our efforts to satisfy 5 basic needs that are built into our genes. These needs are the following: survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. All behavior that satisfies one or more of these needs are pleasurable, and all behavior that attempts but fails to satisfy these needs are considered painful. Choice theory also explains that all we can do as people from birth to death is behave, that we choose all behavior that attempts to satisfy our needs, and that all behavior should be considered total behavior. Total because it is always made up of 4 components: acting, thinking, feeling, and physiology. These behaviors account for our actions, our thoughts, and our feelings. But out of these 4 components, only 2, acting and thinking, are voluntary. The other 2 are considered involuntary. They depend on how successful our actions and thoughts are at satisfying our own needs. So in all, there are 3 main points that throughout this presentation you need to remember about choice theory. All we do as humans is behave, and that all of our behavior is chosen according to Glasser, and that we are driven by our genes to satisfy our 5 basic needs: survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. So let's talk a little bit more about these basic psychological needs. Power. Power is described by Glasser as a sense of winning, achievement, and self-worth. Love and belonging, on the other hand, are considered to be family, having a community that you feel a strong sense of connection to, and having people in your life that you love and care about, and that also love and care about you. So enlarge your support system. Freedom is described as being independent, maintaining personal space and autonomy. And fun is described as satisfaction, enjoyment, and a sense of pleasure. So having hobbies and recreational activities that you enjoy doing. And survival are our human basic needs, such as shelter, food, and sexual fulfillment, the things that we need as people in order to survive and thrive. One of the core principles of the choice theory is that whether we are aware of it or not, we are always trying all the time to behave to get our basic needs met. I mean, if you think about it, no one wakes up in the morning and think, I wonder how I'm going to get my basic need for love and belonging met. That's not what we do as people. But as people, we do wake up and think, I wonder if Terry Joe wants to go out for Taco Tuesday and meet for dinner. Or we also think that maybe we can get the gang together and we can have a game night at my house. Those are the thinking processes that we use to get our love and belonging need met. In our reality, we want to have dinner with Terry Joe. We want to have a game night with our friends. We want to get married and have children. Just like we want our favorite sports team or election party to win. So what drives us as humans are our wants and needs. We don't quite think about the things that we want in the same aspects of the things that we need, but our wants drive us. Our wants make us fantasize about our lives in the future. Our wants are what gives us determinations to meet our goals. Our emotions are what tells us whether we are happy with what is going on in our life at the present moment or whether we are unsatisfied. However, everyone can't change their emotions just by thinking about them. It is easier to change our thinking and our behavior. So reality therapy takes the approach of changing our thinking, our behavior, and our actions. So changing what we do to feel and get what we want. So maybe you can't make your spouse speak to you, but what you can do is speak to your spouse. Maybe you can't make the company give you a promotion, but what you can do is look for a promotion and apply for the job when it comes available. Empowering the client by emphasizing the power that they do have in a situation is what reality therapy is based on. Glasser believed that when someone focuses on changing their own behavior rather than changing someone else's, then they will be far more successful in meeting their goals and desires. These are what some people have to say about reality therapy. For example, Judy Lewis says, with reality therapy, therapists have found a way to help clients take responsibility for their actions in a way that stays respectful to clients, that keeps the safe counseling environment, and that is empathetic but still leads towards client taking action of their situations. Throughout me doing research, I became very curious as how reality therapy was implemented into different populations. I stumbled upon Dr. Robert, who was a very key player in implementing reality therapy into the substance abuse community. He describes the use of the therapy approach like this. He says that drugs as well as other substances have a very appealing quality to them. They appear to be able to satisfy our needs. So people put them into their quality world as very need satisfying. For example, if you drink, you can have a feeling of belonging and you can have a sense of freedom from stress. It's certainly enjoyable, and a lot of people say it gives them power, but people put these substances in their quality world as need satisfying when they can't figure out a better way to satisfy their needs. He goes on to say that our role as therapists is to help them create a world that satisfies their needs in many ways, and to be an advocate in organizations that would create the kind of atmosphere to make it easier for people to choose more effective behaviors. Parents, as well as many professionals in the field of education, mental health, and social services, have embraced the fundamentals of this therapy approach. Also, Ms. Michaela Arnold goes on to say, because reality therapy focuses on the problem-solving piece, it can be effective for a variety of different mental health disorders, including addiction and eating disorders. It is particularly useful for at-risk or resistant teenagers struggling with substance abuse, defiance, manipulation, and other emotional and behavior issues. So as we can see from these three key players in the evolution of reality therapy and implementing it into different populations, that reality therapy has proven itself to be useful and beneficial to a wide variety of populations, from mental health to addiction to eating disorders to the adult population and to the teenage population. And also, the reality therapy approach is particularly useful in the school systems, and we can talk about that a little bit later in my presentation. So now I want to spend some time talking about the application of reality therapy and how clinicians can use this therapy approach to benefit their clinical practice. According to Glasser himself, forming a relationship between the therapist and the client is the most important dynamic in facilitating healing. Developing a strong therapeutic alliance is extremely important and critical in this therapy approach. I'm going to spend some time talking about the roles of a clinician, how you, a therapist or a provider, can use this therapy approach, and the things that you should keep in mind with clients when using this therapy approach. It is important that the provider focuses on the present and avoid discussing the past, because all human problems are caused by their unsatisfied present relationship, according to Glasser. How we talked about before, if the 5 basic needs are not being met, then people will behave in a way trying and seeking to get this need met, but are being unsuccessful. It is important that clinicians avoid discussing symptoms and complaints as much as possible, because these are ways that clients choose to deal with their unsatisfied relationships. And it's also important that you as a provider understand the concept of total behavior, which means focusing on what the client can do, think and act. How we talked about earlier in the presentation, how, for example, a person cannot make their spouse talk to them, but a person can talk to their spouse. So you're helping your client take their power back in this situation, so that things and events are no longer happening to them, but that they realize that they are playing an active role in their healing process. It is also important to avoid criticizing and blaming and or complaining in order to help their clients do the same. By doing this, you're helping your client learn to avoid extremely harmful external control behaviors that end up destroying relationships. And the whole point of reality therapy is getting their needs met and rebuilding these relationships. It's important to remember to be non-judgmental and non-coercive, but to encourage people to judge all that they are doing by the choice theory axioms. So encourage your clients to ask themselves, are what they're doing beneficial in helping them get closer to getting their needs met? If the choices or behaviors are not working, then the clinician should help the client find new behaviors that lead to better connection. It is important to teach your clients not to make excuses, whether they are legitimate or not, because according to Glasser, excuses are what stand directly in the way of making needed connections. It is also important to focus on specifics. Find out as soon as possible what needs your clients have and what needs are disconnected, and work with them to help them choose reconnecting behaviors. If they are completely disconnected, focus on helping them find new connections. So for example, if your client is recovering from substance abuse and they are missing the love and belonging need in their life because they had to disconnect from their old friendships in order to aid their recovery process, your job as a clinician is to help them learn how to rebuild those connections. And that may be suggesting they go to any type of support group or any type of volunteer experience to help them reconnect to the community and get those needs met by building needed connections with other individuals. So that leads me into saying, as clinicians or providers, it is important to help your clients make workable plans in order to reconnect with people that they need, and then follow through with what was planned by helping them evaluate their process. It is important to keep in mind as providers that it's okay to suggest plans to your clients, but always make it known whatever ideas you give can be adjusted and changed in order to meet their preference. That anything that they put on their plan can be up for revision by the client. It is also important to be patient and supportive, but keep focusing on the source of the problem and focus on the disconnectedness. In some situations, clients have been disconnected for so long that they find it difficult to reconnect. They are often so involved in the symptoms that they're choosing that they have lost sight of the fact that they need to reconnect at all. I wanted to provide some information as to how you can learn more about reality therapy, and this is a really great training that is offered by the William Glasser International Institute. These are the dates of the upcoming trainings, and I will leave more information about how you can register for these trainings in the description box below. Also, William Glasser, before his passing, wrote several books, and these are just a few, about how reality therapy can be implemented into different populations. How we spoke before, he has a book specifically on choice theory, several books to be exact, on choice theory and how that theory has implemented reality therapy techniques. Dr. Glasser has several books and publications where he himself goes into detail about how to apply reality therapy techniques and choice theory into different populations such as family and community systems, substance abuse populations, school systems, and teenage populations. And I would encourage you all to visit some of these books that are written by Dr. Glasser to find out more about how this therapy approach can be implemented into whatever population that you serve or that you aspire to serve. Also, this is a reality therapy worksheet. So this is a way for you to get involved and kind of see what this therapy process will be like for your clients. In this activity, you will be describing your wants, what you're doing to achieve those wants, evaluate your progress, and make a plan. So this is just a small activity that will also link in the description box if you yourself would like to try this activity out. So thank you all so much for listening to this presentation on reality therapy. I hope that you found it very informational, and I hope that you can find yourself using this therapy technique into your own individual practices. If you're interested in where all of my research came from, these are my bibliography references that you can feel free to check out some of the information that I used throughout my presentation. So thank you all so much for listening to this presentation. I hope that you found my presentation on reality therapy to be informational and beneficial to your practice or future practice. So again, thank you all for listening to this presentation, and I hope that you found it very beneficial and impactful.